委員，今日咧會議嘅
Members, we have 7 funding proposals from the administration on the agenda. The first 2 were actually in the agenda of the last meeting. Items 3 to 7 were actually carried over from the meeting on the 29th of October and are still outstanding. I'd like to remind members that if they have any direct or indirect pecuniary interest related to any item today, they should, in accordance with Rules of Procedure, paragraph 83A, before speaking, declare the nature of their interest. I'd also like to draw members' attention to ROP 84, the provision in relation to voting when there's a direct pecuniary interest. So we proceed to item 1 on the agenda, head 704, drainage, paper PWSC 2014-15-43, 388DS, Shek Wu Hui sewage treatment works, further expansion, phase 1A. This paper proposes to upgrade part of 388DS entitled Shek Wu Hui Sewage Treatment Works, Further Expansion Phase 1A Advanced Works, Consultants Fees and Investigation to Category A at an estimated cost of $502.7 million in money of the day prices. On the 28th of April last year, the administration consulted the panel and had obtained support from panel members. The details are tabled today, and we have from the administration officials from the Drainage Services Department and the Environmental Protection Department. Who would like to take us through the paper? Yes, Mr. Daniel Chung, Director of Drainage Services. Thank you, Chairman. Expansion Phase 1A of Shek Wu Hui Sewage Treatment Works is to cope with the population growth in Fanling and Shangshui and to collect the additional sewerage collected therefrom. It is envisaged that the existing plant will be saturated in 2018. So there's an imminent need of expanding the plant to enhance its capacity to cope with district development. At the same time, we'd like to take this opportunity to improve the existing environmental protection performance of the plant. For example, we would like to upgrade the system from Class 2 to Class 3. As for odor and mitigation measures, as well as broad landscaping, enhancement of the plant, as well as the neighboring environment, we would like to urge members to support the proposal. All right, now the floor is open to members. Those who wish to ask questions, please press the Request to Speak button. First, Mr. Wong Kok Heng. Mr. Chairman, I speak in support of the proposals in the paper. From the paper, we can see that 10 months ago, the proposals were endorsed by the Panel on Environmental Affairs. And then at the end of January 2015, that is today, they're now here in the PWSC. That indicates that public works projects and livelihood-related projects have been seriously delayed. So I do not need a response from the department. I'd like to urge members from all political affiliations to endorse the proposals. Does any other member wish to speak? Mr. Leung Kwok Hong. Mr. Chairman, I've actually looked at the site for expansion. Well, just now Mr. Wong Kok Heng said that there's delay. Do you have the same feeling? Who's delaying you? Which party was delaying you? Have you received any inquiries, or is it members of the public said that the slippage and delay? Who would like to answer Mr. Leung Kwok Hong's question? Mr. Leung, which official would you like to answer your questions? It doesn't matter, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Wong Kwok Heng had left the conference room after making that remark about delay. So what sort of delay? Technical delay or what? Should it be the Permanent Secretary, Deputy Secretary, or Director of Drainage Services? All right, Director of Drainage Services. Mr. Chairman, for this project, we followed the established procedures in introducing this project to the PWSC. We've been queuing up, and this is the first time we come here to discuss the issue. If members have any questions, we'll try our very best to answer them. Well, I actually went to have a look. The residents complained to me. They're worried about odor. Well, there's already a treatment plant there. They're worried that there might be odor if there's no expansion. Can you tell us what you've done? Director of Drainage Services, we understand that in the vicinity of the existing plant, some villagers indeed had concerns about this proposed expansion project. They're concerned about the environment and so forth. Their concerns were mainly about odor and water quality. They're worried. For odor, we'd like to take this opportunity of expanding the plant to carry out a whole series of improvement measures. For example, step by step, when we carry out the expansion, we'll try to cover facilities that may emit odor. There will be odor elimination devices installed before commissioning. I'd like to say here that the plant has been operating for 30 years on the site. Operations have been smooth. There have not been any major impacts on the environment. Individual villages were concerned and worried about the water discharged by the plant. At the end of 2013, we arranged a site visit for the villagers. They also took some water samples from our plant. Well, we took the samples for them, and it's discovered that water discharged by this plant did not have much impact on the water quality of Ngtong River. We will upgrade the facility so the quality of the water disposed of will be further enhanced. So, villagers are confident about this three-tier system adopted by us. Well, by Man Kam To Road, there's this Fu Tei Ngao village. It's proposed that facilities should be set up for receiving imported poultry. Do you know of this? Did you consult them or did they consult you? We understand that in the vicinity there may be such a new facility. These proposed facilities in terms of the operation of our sewage treatment works, well, we did consider the possible impact. In fact, after this proposed expansion, our plant is capable of treating all sewage from other government facilities, including sewerage treatment. Next, Mr. Albert Chan, to be followed by Mr. Chen Hakan. Mr. Albert Chan. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to follow up on the issue of odor and then ask questions about the other items. After the commissioning of the Shek Wu Hui sewage treatment plant, as I mentioned a number of times, and as I wrote personally to the departments concerned, very often between 8 to 9 p.m. every night, odor will be emitted. If you drive past the plant, you smell the bad odor. So I complained a number of times. Recently, I passed less frequently by that site. I don't know whether there's such a strong odor. For years, I've been passing that road section when I went home. So what about the mode of sewage treatment? Is this plant now proposed any different from the Shek Wu Hui plant? Why can't Shek Wu Hui use the same equipment? And will the odor in Shek Wu Hui recur in this particular plant in Shek Wu Hui? Director, well, Mr. Chairman, after this expansion, the method of treatment is different for the two plants. For Shek Wu Hui, it will be a class 3, a tertiary treatment plant, but for Shek Wu Hui is a primary treatment plant. The major difference between the two plants is that in future, at Shek Wu Hui, with the new facilities, odor-emitting facilities will be totally covered. And then the odor will go through the odor elimination equipment before emission.
So that the odorous gas will not be actually affecting people outside. Shek Wu Hui, why did they install the odor filter facilities? Is it because there were no people living nearby? Director, well, when we built the sewage treatment works, we did it because, and we did take into account the neighboring environment, and we did the impact assessment. We need to see whether there are people living nearby, so those are factors of consideration. So we designed on the basis of the environment then. So I think Class 1 and Class 3 involved huge differences in fees. Later on, I will find out why Shek Wu Hui back then was classified as Class 1, and now this vending one is classified as Class 3. Why is this plant given Class 1 status? Well, Class 3 it really depends. It's a matter of the standards for the sewerage. That's the difference between Class 1 and Class 3. If we expect the sewage to be to comply with higher standards, then we need to elevate the project to a higher class. We also need to see, the standard required. But let me supplement. Shek Wu Hui, even though this is the Class 1 treatment works, the odor actually, emitted is not necessarily related to what class it belongs to. As for installing a cover to improve the situation in Shek Wu Hui, actually we've been doing relevant works. Once we've installed a cover for the sewage works, the odor problem would be much improved. Chair Ken next. Thank you, Chairman. Just as members have said, residents actually are concerned about the odor of the future treatment works. And they're also worried that when the construction works begin, there could be air pollution, noise pollution problems because they live there and they're worried that they might be affected. Even though in 2013 the government had begun liaising with Hung Cook and district council there, and often obtained advice from them. But I'm still worried whether the works, once we were given funding to it, then all the consultation work that was undertaken and exchanges with the community would be stopped. That would not be ideal. I've also noticed that in the past when building not so favorable facilities, the government would actually set up district liaison groups, like in the building of landfills in Tuen Mun. They would have those community liaison groups working so that residents and rural communities can have a chance to make complaints and to monitor the progress of the construction works. So I do like the government to make a pledge with this committee that in the future that it will set up a similar liaison groups and appoint people from the community, local stakeholders, to be members of the group so that they can closely monitor the development works. We are not as familiar with the community, right? So people living there can reflect to you whenever problems occur, and they are better aware of the problems in the community, and this could help reduce the impact of the construction work. So can the administration make a pledge here, promise to set up the groups, and also besides what other ways do they have to enhance links with the people in the community? Director, I think during the project works, when we did the environmental impact assessment, we did consider the possible impact on air quality, noise, and so forth. In our report, we did propose a list of measures to minimize the impact. We've also reserved some budget for the implementation of the measures. As for communication with residents, actually now we are in the process of setting up a community liaison group. As Mr. Chan mentioned, the group will help with our actually implementing the construction and communicating with people there. We will let the people tell us what their concerns are or any advice, views they have, and we'll try to accommodate the views. Can I ask the director when the group will be set up? I think if we approve the funding today, then I think it'll still take time for the group to be set up. Director, yeah, we'll speed up the formation of the group. And I can assure you here that before the construction begins, the group will be set up. Last question, Chairman. I'd like the group to actually, even after the construction is set up, to continue in operation. Is that possible, Director? Well, after the construction work is completed, we will not disband the group immediately or stop the group from functioning. Indeed, after the construction is finished, if everyone thinks that there needs to be more communication or further communication, it's a matter of whether both sides think that the group should be continued. Only when both sides think there's no need for the group, then the group will be discontinued. Albert Chen, I'd just like to have a clarification. The design is the works to be enclosed structure. Yes, if there will be odor emitted, then any areas where there will be odor emitted, then that particular area will be enclosed. I'd like to ascertain what parts of the structure will be enclosed. For many sewage works, part of it will be actually open air. So which parts of the treatment works will be enclosed? Can you pinpoint exactly which portions will be enclosed to us? Well, I think maybe you have come across some parts of the facilities where there could be odor. Whenever there will be odor, that parts of the treatment facilities will be enclosed. And if there is, for example, sludge stored or areas where there is odor, then it will be enclosed. So are you saying that maybe 80 to 90% of the structure will be enclosed? Yeah, whenever or whichever part of the plant that actually emits odor, it will be enclosed. So what class of a treatment will be subject to being enclosed? When we treat the sewage, for example, there could be some elementary sediments, and there could be some other more advanced facilities that could be actually different. So depends on the types of facilities used for sedimentation. There could be some actually other ways to remove the odor. So in class 2 treatment works, the most advanced facilities for sedimentation will be actually subject to the provision of some sort of biodetector. And the facilities dealing with that are used to treat sludge will be enclosed. So which parts, in other words, will not be enclosed? Director, let's look at Annex 1. The map in Annex 1, would it help you answer the question from Albert Chen? Well, the map doesn't say which parts of it deals with class 1, class 2 of works. Okay, you can look at the map here, and then you can see the blue part, the blue portion, is where we will convert the existing bioreactor. You'll see the bioreactor there, and there are two circles there. The circled areas will be the final sedimentation tanks. The blue portions in the future, in our advanced works, the circled areas will be converted into membrane bioreactor. And for these portions, they will be enclosed. Mr. Chen? Yes, I do. Want to say that often, for sedimentation tanks and sewage treatment, often they would emit odor, and that the level and the amount of odor could also depend on weather conditions. Odor may be more serious if weather is hot. And so this facility is relatively quite close to residential areas, so we need to be concerned about it. Okay, next one. Okay, well, no other members have any other questions. Please continue. Well, okay, as for the landfills, sending the construction waste materials to landfills. Well, we've talked about it for more than 10 years. Oftentimes, we've asked the government, and I've said this to the permanent secretary as well, they object to reclamation. But if one of the purposes of reclamation is to absorb the construction waste materials, I would totally support it. Now, you are saying there will be 330 tons of construction waste that will be shipped to landfill. So does the administration have any plan to find some reclaimed areas to receive the 300-odd tons of construction waste so as to ease the pressure on landfills? I mean, it's ridiculous. Now we are, actually using construction waste materials to reclaim the sea, and then later on we have to buy back the construction waste materials or dredge sea sands to reclaim waters or reclaim the sea. I think it's just common sense. People involved in planning should be aware that every year we need thousands of tons of land to be used as for reclamation purposes. If there's good planning, then we could create some sort of win-win situation and reduce the pressure on landfills. So maybe the secretary could help. Sorry, who's going to respond? Okay, who is going to respond to this? May I ask Permanent Secretary of the Development Bureau to respond? Yes, I think some of our landfill projects, when they are put before LegCo, they were objected. So next time when we put forward some landfill projects to LegCo, they would be approved. But I think, Chairman, they need to tell us the clear purposes of reclamation. So if the reclaimed areas are to be in use 10 years later, then there's no urgent need for it. Like the planning for the Central Island, we had a big fight over it. But you need to let us know what the purpose of reclamation is. If it's to create a commercial center right in the center of the sea, of course we'll object to it. But if there's a plan to have designated reclaimed areas to receive construction waste, and I would totally support it.
Will the Deputy Secretary plan which facility will be receiving construction wastes? If the reclamation site proposed is not so sensitive, I believe many members will support you. So I think you have to clarify this. We oppose you on certain occasions because of other reasons, not because of this proposal to treat construction wastes. Well, in fact, Mr. Abachan is not mentioning issues related to this paper. Director, well, 8,470 metric tons of waste will be generated by this project, and 710 tons will be reused. 7,430 tons are inert construction wastes, which will be transported to public fill reception facilities for future reuse. And the remaining 330 metric tons of non-inert construction wastes, they cannot be used for reclamation or be reused. Mr. Wu Hui, speaking for the first time. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Concerning this proposed expansion of Shek Wu Hui sewage treatment works, I'd like to seek a clarification. On other occasions, I heard that a district cooling system would be built here on the same site, or a similar facility would be built. What about the disposal and treatment capacity here? Will it match the future district cooling system? What arrangements will be put in place? That's my first question. Second question. Villagers in the vicinity of Shek Wu Hui sewage treatment works have reservation over the proposed expansion. They're concerned about sewage and odor. The capacity of the plant will be upgraded after this expansion. May I know by what extent? Oh, up to tertiary treatment, tertiary level. Well, how will that impact on the neighboring rivers? What impact will that be? So what about the tertiary treated sewage, apart from being used for cooling? What other uses can that be put to use? Director? Yes, Shek Wu Hui will have a tertiary treatment works. After treatment, the quality of the water will be quite high, up to a reuse standard in terms of water quality. Therefore, water disposed in future after sterilization can be reused. Mr. Wu is concerned about the future district cooling system. Yes, we can consider that. Besides, we can also consider using the water for district flushing purposes or district irrigation purposes. So these are our considerations at the moment. Mr. Wu, may I ask this? I'd like to know the future uses of these water. Under your present plan, do you need to make any preparation? The quality of the water after tertiary treatment should be quite ideal, and the water should be able to be reused. Well, I'm worried that the water may just flow into deep bay through uncovered channels. Director, we're discussing this with our colleagues in the DSD. The expansion will take a few years to complete. In the interim, we'll make preparation. We'll see what need to be prepared and what facilities may have to be built. We're studying these concerns. Mr. Wu, any more? Then Mr. Leung Kwok Hong. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask about a piece of information. The panel on environmental affairs on the 28th of April last year supported your proposal. They supported the funding proposal, as Mr. Wong Kwok Hing said, for Man Kam To Road and Fu Tei Ngao Village, for the temporary storage area for live poultry. When did that proposal emerge? Do you know? When did the administration say that it intended to set up a temporary storage area for live poultry? When did you know of this piece of information? As the DSD is not directly responsible for the proposed facility, although we need to know the future volume of discharged water that will be directly related to this work. We understand that that facility will only have a daily discharge of 100 cubic meters of sewage. So the expanded plant should be able to cope. So no impact. Well, it will not impact on the future operations of the expanded plant. All right, you mentioned water quality. But there's another issue, visual impact. When I went on a site inspection, the villagers considered the future plant ugly. Well, I don't think it's ugly. It's just a normal factory. Did you ever discuss with the villagers? Did they give you any advice? Director of Drainage Services. Well, on visual impact, we did have exchanges with the villagers and listened to their views. In terms of design, we'll use a semi-submerged design. As Mr. Leung Kwok-hong said, the future sewage treatment plant won't be too tall, so we'll use a semi-submerged design such that the eventual building won't be too tall, and there'll be greening on the rooftops as well as vertical greening on the exterior walls. The plant, after expansion, will pose environmental improvement when compared with the present situation. All right. Do the villagers know? Yes, they know. They know of the future design. Have they agreed? Have they taken another look at the site? When I was there, they were grumbling loudly. They're worried that this particular expansion will be a recurrence of the Sha-Tin incident, the Sha-Tin plant. We'll do detailed design. When we come to the details, we'll have a district liaison committee to absorb villagers' views. And in our tendering documents, we require the contractor, the consultancy, to take on board the villagers' views in designing the plant. Well, my question is, have you completed your design work? If so, have the villagers seen the design? If so, do they agree with you? Or they have doubts? Well, if they have doubts, then the liaison committee will follow up. Design director. No, we've not yet got the design. I only mentioned the concept. The consultant will be responsible for concepts and design. So he'll rely on the liaison group in communication. Well, the liaison group is one avenue. Besides, we'll require the consultancy to launch a whole series of public engagement exercises. So, members of the public concerned will have sufficient opportunity to offer their comments. Mr. Wu Hui. Thank you, Chairman. Just now, there's another follow-up question on the building of this expansion. Will it also be covered, or will you adopt the old style for the sedimentation tanks? Will the sedimentation tanks be exposed? Well, that question has already been asked. Land resources are precious these days. This proposed plant is very huge. Will other government facilities or officers be able to be relocated on this particular site so as to vacate other sites for other uses? Director, the first question is whether or not the facilities will be covered. Yes, the expanded plant will be covered in terms of odor-emitting facilities. In Fanling and Changshui, we need to boost our treatment capacity so as to cope with increased volume of sewage. So we have to make good use of our land resources. That's why we're proposing in situ expansion. We're making use of a government site nearby for the expansion. Besides, will introduce the state-of-the-art technology such that we'll be using as little land as possible. If you compare this with the traditional method for a facility with a similar capacity, the land used by this expansion project will be less. Well, Mr. Chairman, perhaps I did not ask my question clearly enough. Say if the DSD now has officers dispersed in different parts of Hong Kong, maybe some in the new territories, will some government facilities or officers be relocated to the site so as to vacate other sites for other users like community facilities? Director, concerning this expansion project, will make full use of the land available, so there won't be extra land for office uses. In future, should we have other facilities on the site for public use? Well, we may consider appropriate facilities. For example, we're considering whether or not the greened areas can be open to public use. Well, it really depends on the future design, whether or not that's feasible. Mr. Wu Hui, so you're confirming that you make full use of the plot ratio. Director, the design of a sewage treatment works is different from that of ordinary offices. We won't use plot ratio in our deliberation of uses. Our plant includes many big tanks. In between them, we cannot have pillars or foundation. Besides, odor will be generated. So we have to consider safety as well as operation. Therefore, it is inappropriate to have other facilities on a sewage treatment plant.
Yep.
So if members have no other questions. Oh, Fernando Zhang. Thank you, Chairman. There's the treatment plant. Actually, back in 2005, it underwent an expansion. And so its treatment capacity was increased. Now we're looking at another large-scale increase in its capacity. In the paper, you can see that the villages in Shengshuiheng strongly opposed it. Back then, when the expansion was made, the villagers also strongly opposed it. Now, today, they're still opposed to it. The paper shows that the government has had talks with them. And it seems that the residents are still unsatisfied, despite the communication. Just then, Leung Kok-hong asked the present design and the the measures to handle the problem of odor and possible impact on health and river quality, and also based on district council records. In the North District Council, there was also thorough discussion on the matter. Quite a number of councillors proposed that another site could be found to actually do the treatment works. For example, there was this proposal for the another plant to be built in Shalang instead of actually at sites so close to villagers. So I'd like to ask the administration on these, opposition, voices of opposition. Does the administration still actually just ignore them? Is the administration thinking that there are no villagers opposed to the plan? Director, in expanding the capacity and in the choice of location for the new site, we have actually considered various locations, including Shalang, and also south to the Lowu Station, some waste farmland there. In the north of Shangshui, there is some land zoned for greenery. In Chamshan, Futoyao, Kailanshan, and Tanshetlo, and so forth. After a round of analysis upon the geographical locations, ecological value, cost effectiveness, technical feasibility, and so forth, we found that of the various possible locations, each has its own difficulties. And finally, we think that having the expansion in situ is the most ideal option. Fernando Zhang? So my other question is, my understanding is many villages are still opposed to the expansion. And many actually don't think there is a consensus on your design for the extension as well. So if the administration decides to go ahead still, regardless of the opposition, then when the actual construction work begins, you might still face opposition from the villagers. So shouldn't the government continue to have more dialogues with the villagers and explain to them to try to reach a consensus before construction of the expansion phase begins? Director? On the villagers' concerns, we've explained to them very clearly. I think they understand the actual situation. But ultimately, they may have some, they have some worries and concerns. Hopefully, through our regional liaison group to be set up, we can have further dialogues with them. Hopefully, they, in the future, they can understand more about, the details of the design, and they will be more willing to accept it, and their worries will be eased. Lo Wei Kwok, next. Chairman, I think on this item, my analysis is that expansion is really necessary because it's simple situation there. Actually, we do need to process so much more sewage now. As explained in the paper, in 2018, the existing plant will reach its maximum capacity. So we do need to increase its capacity to handle more sewage. Members ask whether there are other locations that are better choices, but I know that the administration has done detailed study and compared various sites, and its conclusion is that expanding in situ is the best option. Chairman, I'd like to stress that we should not just limit ourselves to expansion of the plant. We're now trying to enhance the, the quality and the, capacity of the plant so that we can improve on measures to handle odor emitted. So I think we're talking about an overall enhancement of the plant, and that would actually result in a lot of benefits. So I think the colleagues responsible for the project should continue to communicate with the nearby residents and to ease their concern. And Chairman, my other view is that facilities like this are municipal facilities and they are needed. In order to provide good services, we need to make sure that they are environmental friendly and also be educational. For example, you may not be aware of this, but in Stanley, In Am Tong, there is a waste treatment plant there. It itself actually is a good chance for students to know about modern treatment plant, how it works, how a modern plant works. And why is it working this way? Is for the purpose of environmental protection. In Am Tong, this new facility actually provides an interesting experience for people indeed. So apart from expansion, you need to consider the overall enhancement of the plant, and then we do anticipate this plant to be an educational center in the future and be open to visits by students, so they know better. As civil, they need to fulfill their civic responsibility to help Hong Kong become a greener city. Okay, if members have no other questions, I will put this item to the vote. Members who support this proposal, please raise your hands. Those who are against, please raise your hands. The members who voted, most of them endorsed this proposal. So proposed now is approved by this committee. Now let's move on to the next item. PWSC 20141551. The upgrading of 8110 TH2 Category A at an estimated cost of $806.5 million. And the item concerns retrofitting of noise barriers on Tuen Mun Road. In 2014, May 26th, the administration consulted the environment panel, and the proposal was now submitted to this subcommittee, and the main points expressed at the Environmental Affairs Panel meeting was included in the paper. Now, with us today are colleagues from the Highways Department. So, Director of Highways, would you like to take us through this item? Yes, thank you. I'm here to explain to you the retrofitting of noise barriers on Tuen Mun Island and to upgrade it to Category A. The cost involved is $826.5 million. When it's feasible, the administration will study whether the noise emitted will be above the 70 decibel, and if it's above the limit, then we will install noise barriers. So there are 1,900 flats to be affected by the retrofitting by the work, and in part of the section we will have actually the cantilevered noise barrier along the verge of the southbound carriageway, and also between Rosedale Garden and Lakeshore Building. We'll also actually carry out very relevant drainage works. We'll begin the works in August this year. Supposed to begin the work in August last year, but we didn't have time to discuss this item with you. So therefore, the whole item has been delayed till now when we are seeking your endorsement. And the tender actually expired yesterday. Therefore, the paper issued in October last year needs to be updated. The latest paper has put in detail the construction period and the latest price concerned. If the Finance Committee approves this budget, we plan to begin the construction in the third quarter of 2015 and finish the work in 2019. As we said earlier, we have consulted the Environment Panel, and the Environmental Affairs Panel supported the proposal. The paper presented to members today have contained the latest details, information about the project, and I do hope that members will support the funding request so that people will benefit from it as soon as possible. So members have asked to speak. In order is Yip Kin Yuen, Lee Chek Yen, Wong Kok Heng, and the rest. So may I ask Yip Kin Yuen to speak first? Thank you. I think you can see from paragraph 16 of the paper that the Church of Christ in China Tam Li Lai Fan Memorial Secondary School objects the works. It doesn't object the noise mitigation measures, but it's just that it thinks the measures involved does not cover the school. Looking at the minutes of the environmental panel survey meeting, you can see that the administration has got more than 1,000 objections. Actually, most of the objections came from this school. In other words, actually, still there are 1,000 outstanding oppositions against this project. So therefore, the project actually has not involved the school. You can see the school is right next to the highway. If our chamber is right next to Tuen Mun Highway and there are heavy traffic on the highway, then that could actually pose a big impact on us. So you are talking about retrofitting of cantilevered noise barriers on the highway, but then you cannot ensure the quietness of classrooms. So my question is, if the noise impact is so high, or if there's such a serious impact on air quality, so why is that the dormitories are protected by noise barriers but not the classrooms? You know that classrooms are very sensitive to any noise. It could affect the quality of learning inside it. I have liaised with the principal of the school.
The school principal said that they had actually got double glazing for the windows. Still, the noise was very strong, and throughout the whole year, they had to switch on the air conditioners. That has a huge impact on the school. The government told them that noise-related laws only cover government buildings, not other buildings like schools. Well, may I know what laws are relevant here? And in the long run, we should also cover facilities like hospitals and schools. As this school has such a strong request and need, can we do something to help them? Can a site inspection be carried out so as to identify ways and means to assist the school? Director of Highways. Sorry, the speaker is not coming through. Would you please switch on the microphone? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Yip Kin Yuen. First of all, I'd like to offer a simple response. As for noise and other environmental issues, I'll defer to my colleagues. The government is very concerned about noise affecting schools. So, under the school improvement program, as well as noise mitigation policies, noise mitigation devices had been offered. For example, double glazing. Mr. Yip Kin Yuen asked whether there are other ways and means to ease noise. Upon completing the project on this section of Tuen Mun Road, will repave the road surface with materials with a lower noise emission. As for the other questions, I'll defer to the Environmental Protection Department. Mr. Tang Kin Fai, Assistant Director. Under the existing laws, the Road Traffic Ordinance does not govern noise. As the Director of Highways said, in the past, the government tried to address prevailing noise problems of schools. Double glazing for windows, waste gas or exhaust gas fans, etc. had been installed for schools to mitigate noise. The existing ordinance mainly targets residential buildings. The Church of Christ in China Tamli Lai Fan Memorial Secondary School has already been retrofitted with all the noise mitigation measures, so this project won't cover the school. Mr. Kim Yun, any follow-up? Well, obviously, there's strong opposition from the school, indicating that the double glazing had not been able to address the problem. So I'd like to know whether you've gone on another site inspection. Any other ways and means to assist the school? Why is this school not covered by the noise mitigation barriers? In fact, outside the school, we have semi-covered noise barriers. Besides, beneath the noise barriers, we had noise-absorbing panels. Therefore, traffic-generated noise will be slightly absorbed by these noise-absorbing panels. And this semi-cover will cover noise generated by westbound traffic. So after building these noise barriers, the noise affecting the school will also be reduced. As I said, upon completing the project, we'll repave the road surface with noise reduction materials, so that will also help the school. Mr. Lee Chak-yan and then Mr. Wong Kwok Heng. Mr. Chairman, all rules and regulations should be serving people. Well, in fact, it's not environmentally friendly to have double glazing. It's also not environmentally friendly to have to switch on your air conditioners throughout the whole year. If you put schools on a par with residential buildings, then this school should also be covered by this program. That is, to be provided with noise barriers. Why is it that you still believe that the school improvement program alone is adequate? Well, even with double glazing, this school has to switch on their air conditioners throughout the year. That's not satisfactory in terms of environmental protection. Should you be so rigid? Is it really true that you can't carry out any further improvement? I also received complaints from the residents who told me that they'll be affected and they would like you to change the location. May I have your response? Director of Highways. Thank you, Mr. Lee. Ask our EPD colleagues to answer the first question. Well, after Gazetto, all complaints received were from the school, none from the residents. That's why we only handled the complaints from the school. As for the second question, I'll defer to the EPD. Mr. Tang, Assistant Director. Concerning the school, the existing double glazing has effectively reduced the noise level by at least 25 decibels, allowing the school to have normal teaching. As the Director of Highways mentioned, upon the completion of this noise barrier, the noise affecting the school will also be reduced. If we change from a semi-cover to a full cover, we'll be breaching the existing policy. And even if we are to do so, only the 10-odd classrooms on the front will benefit, and the school will still be affected by the Qingtian PTI. And the school will have to close all its windows anyway. So we don't think we should spend almost $100 million more on full covers. Mr. Wong Kok Hing and then Miss Alice Mack. Thank you, Chairman. For this noise mitigation project, as an elected councillor for New Territories West, former councillor, I agree that many residential structures will be affected. We're talking about 1,900 households, so the government should proceed with these noise barriers as expeditiously as possible because they have been waiting for a long time. As regards Tamli Lai Fan Memorial Secondary School, even though the government has been providing semi-enclosed noise barriers, would like to see whether the government can do more. The school, before benefiting from the noise barriers, fitted itself with double glazing. Well, if they can be covered by fully enclosed noise barriers instead of just semi-covered noise barriers, they may be able to open their windows in future. Well, in fact, fully enclosed noise barriers are not something additional for the school. In fact, the school has been suffering. So I think the government should spend that $100 million. Director of Highways, for a fully enclosed noise barrier, we need to have foundation works and supporting structures near the school. Space is limited on that occasion, so there will be difficulties. Maybe we need to take out some space from the school. Well, Mr. Chairman, if they say that the foundation works may affect the school, then I have nothing to say. Anyway, I'd like them to commence as soon as possible. Well, the director said that the tendering documents expired yesterday. So, to what extent will construction cost rise for this project? In 2014, when we prepared the documents, we based our calculation on the bidding prices in April last year. That stood at $623 million. As the tenders had expired, we have to reconsider the works items as well as valuation. Given the latest situation, the cost will rise to $825 million. As members all know, or $826.5 million. The more delay, the higher the cost will be. Well, Mr. Chairman, due to the delay, taxpayers will have to spend $200 million more. I hope that in this council, members, Pan-Democrat members, can see the problem and give the green light to the project as early as possible. Ms. Alice Mack and then Dr. Kwakaki. Mr. Chairman, with a noise barrier, if you consult the residents, they'll obviously support you. There won't be any opposition. In the past, you only consulted those residents who would benefit. That's why from the paper I can see that you will reduce the noise level by how many decibels? Is it that some residents are not being consulted? Given my experience, you would not consult those who would not benefit. So you will only consult those who are to benefit. So, for those residents not consulted by you, they may suffer from a higher level of noise. I did take measurements together with you and proved that the noise level would rise. So apart from the 1,000 odd households you mentioned, can you consult the other households in the vicinity of those 1,000 odd households? And why can't you take this opportunity to solve the problem for the school? Students are also human beings. They are affected by noise. Why can't you solve the problem and help them? Director of Highways, Mr. Chairman, we did conduct consultation. In July 2010, we went to 2 committee meetings under the Tuen Mun District Council. Both committees strongly asked us to build this noise barrier in this road section. And then the chairman of the Traffic and Transport Committee of the Tuen Mun District Council wrote to the EPD and the Highways Department in September 2010 asking that we proceed immediately. And then in March 2012, the preliminary design concepts as well as design patterns were passed to the T&T Committee of the Tuen Mun District Council. At that meeting, Tuen Mun District councillors also asked us to proceed as early as possible. So we've actually obtained views from local residents. As for the school, as I mentioned, after we have erected all these noise barriers, even though there are not fully enclosed barriers as requested by the school, the semi-enclosed noise barriers will actually curb traffic noise generated by southbound traffic. And for the northbound side, we'll have noise-absorbing materials to absorb noise. And upon completing the project, the road section will be repaved with noise-absorbing materials. So although we're not going to build a fully enclosed barrier for the school, we have adopted other mitigation measures which we consider effective.
If it's enclosed, then it shouldn't have any impact on nearby residents. But you know that, Ching Yu North Bridge, there is a non-enclosed noise barriers. Residents said that initially it wasn't noisy, but now it's become noisy. So how can you ensure that? You said you have done the consultation in the community, but as I said, those whose noise level was reduced, of course, will not have any problem with it. But those who are not in the other category actually would be affected if you don't have fully enclosed barriers. Director? Well, when we did the project, we had actually indeed carried out a thorough environmental impact assessment, including the noise impact. As Ms. Mack just said, if we had the noise barriers there, we would actually put some noise-absorbing materials in the foundation so that the noise generated will be absorbed instead of being actually emitted. So we're sure that it will not exacerbate the noise problem. Ms. Mack, I disagree with that. If that's the case, then there wouldn't be that many residents who are still complaining about noise nuisance. I'm sure you know that we have kept asking you why is it that despite the various reasons that initially there were no noise pollution, now become exposed to noise pollution. It shows that actually your noise absorbing materials are not useful. So, Director, are you saying that for this particular section there will be some noise absorbing materials that were not used before? So the noise issue created by installation of noise barriers would not happen here again? Yes, that's right. At the foundation of the noise barriers, will use some noise absorbing materials, so there wouldn't be any noise impact at all to the environment. Okay, next one, Kwakaki, and then Albert Chen. Mr. Kwok first. Yes, on the consultation mentioned. Well, I think to me it's a kind of consultation that, in which the government just listens to what it wants to listen to. The memorial school concern actually is subject to pain every day. Comparing a school with a residential unit, I think the impact on the school would be higher because students are supposed to have to concentrate each day to learn. So I think the government has double standards here, and I can't really endorse that. And as for the effectiveness of your measures, well, you can see that 147 dwellings only had 1 decibel reduced. 748 decibels had 2 to 5 decibels reduced. Altogether, they make up more than half of the residential dwellings. That means you are actually spending so much money to reduce only 5 decibels of noise. So I think we're not really putting our money to good use, and neither has the government ensured public interest. If you were to reduce the decibels, the minimum level should be like in the case of 69 dwellings which have 21 decibels reduced. So the reduction of 1 to 5 decibel is nothing. It's really close to nothing. And yet, all of them are not being taken care of by the government. As mentioned in the paper, only residents who are exposed to much higher decibels of noise would be protected. That is, those households exposed to 75 or more decibels only these people can be protected. So what are we using our taxpayers' money for? I think there's a mistake here. The enclosures, of course, can reduce noise. Chairman, I can't accept just a reduction of 2 to 5 decibels. To residents affected, it makes no difference to them. This minor reduction. This is ridiculous. Director? Just then, Director Tang also mentioned that there are a lot of households in the location which are not subject to noise from Tuen Mun Road. Nearby is the an interchange, a traffic interchange that also generates noise. The Ching Tin interchange. So our project now is hope to block the noise from Tuen Mun Road first. But Ching Tin interchange generates noise still, and we do need other measures to address that. That's why some residential households are exposed to more noise than others. So the Ching Tin interchange, how long do we have to wait to have the noise there reduced? And secondly, the administration, always overspent. Now, I know that you have a reserve of $151 million. The contract signed today, how are they like? Is it like before that the contractors would just ask for how much more money they want, and are we just putting all our taxpayers' monies into the ocean? Are the contracts going to be changed, Director? The Ching Tin interchange composed of existing bridges that actually are used by vehicles. want to have improvement to the structures there, the noise situation there. We need to see whether the existing structures can accommodate noise mitigation facilities. We've done several studies before. The various carriageways there cannot indeed afford new noise barriers, but we will, on the road surface, pave some noise reduction materials. As for contrast, the administration has very stringent procedures concerning contrast. We'll follow the procedures. In terms of reserve, we will reserve a 10% of contingency fund. Yes, Chairman, I'd like to ask him whether the administration is going to sign contracts that allow contractors to add to the cost whenever they want to. Director, I think there are some stringent policies governing, use of money for government contracts. Well, we talk about stringent, we talk about, any increase of up to, millions of dollars. Okay, next one, Albert Chan, followed by Helena Wong. Well, Chairman Wong Kok Heng just stepped out, but he just then blamed, filibustering members for the increase in costs of projects. I think that's an ignorant view. Why do we have projects that overrun its budget? Well, look at this example of the high-speed rail. It's not our responsibility to see the overrun budget, the high-speed rail projects exceeding its cost by more than $10 billion. I think you need to look at each project and see whether there are any flaws in the plan. And then for the high-speed rail project, we knew very clearly that the evaluation work, assessment work was done in a rush, so there was not inadequate preparations, and we could foresee, crazy increases in the costs. But all the electrical members, ignored the facts and the objective environment and just supported whatever the government wanted back then. So members supported what the central government wants to see done, infrastructure projects that it wants to have. So I think we do need to condemn, members who just did whatever they thought was politically correct, regardless of the implications for taxpayers' money. I think as a responsible government, the Development Bureau should monitor the overall expenses of our public works. The public works each year that costs up to $170 billion should be stopped. We've seen a shortage of labor, like steel workers, which also results in an incredible increase in the cost of public works. So if you can see that there is actually the situation of too many works beyond our capability, then you should actually slow down the pace of public works instead of just trying to get all of them through. For this project, I would suggest that the government reinvites tenders again, because I know that steel and other construction materials have come down by 50%. So now at this height, if this tender was invited at the height of the construction costs, but now with the raw materials coming down drastically in cost, everyone with common sense would know, then you should delay the project. Of course, there could be other impact by delaying the project, but the government should consider re-inviting tenders, because when you invite the tenders when the construction period was construction industry was at its height, then the cost must be higher, because prices of the materials like copper were at an all-time high. Now the prices have come down. I think if you go ahead, then the contractors would have made profits of up to 30 to 50%. Back to the issue of the school, I'm really angry with the government's attitude. If you're familiar with the process of impact assessment, I think the administration only told us partial truths. Okay, in the area, right next to the Tam Lee Lai Fund Memorial Secondary School, you can use noise-absorbing materials to absorb just part of the noise, because noise can go everywhere. with glasses, the noise when it comes into contact with glass, the noise level could increase. That's why in upper story flats, sometimes the noise level could be higher than those in lower stories. That's due to the special effect that actually increases the echo of the noise. So therefore, the upper stories of the school, the students in classrooms in the upper floors of the school could be subject to a high level of noise. So if you don't have full enclosures there, then I think that's ridiculous. The government said that you had asked the school to install air conditioning and noise filtering glass. I mean, that's understandable, but still the noise level remains, and it's definitely unfair to teachers and students there to be subject to still the noise problem. I would suggest that the administration withdraw the paper and invite new tenders again and create full enclosures for the benefit of the school. Director, the tender actually already passes the validity period. Therefore, we are reevaluating the whole plan and also considering all other options, including negotiating with the winning bidder or to invite for fresh tenders again. Our ultimate goal is to approve the contract to contractors to fulfill our requirements and also to have contracts award to those who actually are willing to give the government the best terms. So as Albert Chan said, if the copper and other construction materials prices have come down by 50%, then the cost will come down. Yes, I'm sure if we are to invite tenders again, the contract or the tender should reflect the latest prices of the raw materials. Yeah, I would really urge that the administration invite tenders again. So do we have to now invite tenders afresh now? Because you said the tendering period already expired, right? Yes, we are considering negotiating with the bidders. We can still actually negotiate with the bidders still at this stage.
Dr. Helena Wong and then Dr. Fernando Chang. Mr. Chairman, I'm also very concerned about that section of the road in front of the school. Why can't it be a full enclosure? Mr. Lau, the director, said that the school got double glazing. But he also said that if there's to be a full enclosure, it will cost an additional $100 million. And then later he said that foundation will have to be erected in the vicinity of the school. So why can't the school be covered by these noise barriers? Which of the three reasons that you mentioned is true? Don't mention north when we ask you south. Don't mention east when we mention west. So tell us, is it absolutely impossible for full enclosure for that section in front of the school? Is it really absolutely impossible technically? And then you're talking about $800 million only for the whole project. If we are to have full enclosure for the school, if you are to retender the project, you can include that $100 million. And please tell us more details about noise barriers, be they full enclosure or semi-enclosure. Is it really true that you cannot take care of hospitals, schools, and residents farther away? Director of Highways. Number one, if we are to erect a full enclosure, we need to have additional supports as well as foundation. By that side of the road, in front of the school. So there'll be difficulties. We have not looked into the details yet, but there'll be quite some difficulties. As our EPD colleague mentioned, the noise affecting the school is partly from Tuen Mun Road and partly from Chengtin PTI. No matter what measures we adopted in Tuen Mun Road, we won't be able to reduce the noise emitted by Chengtin PTI. That's a very important consideration. I also mentioned just now that under the noise barrier, there will be absorptive materials, panels to absorb noise, and upon completion of the project, we'll also repave the road with noise-absorbing materials to prevent reflection of noise back to the school. EPD, Mr. Tang, Assistant Director. Mr. Chairman, basically what I can say is that government policies have already provided to the school noise mitigation equipment and measures including exhaust fans, double glazing for windows and air conditioners. Under those circumstances, no further noise mitigation measures would be introduced for the school. Dr. Helena Wong. Mr. Chairman, first of all, I have to seriously protest against this policy. Do you want to live in a housing unit that cannot have windows open and you have to switch on your air conditioners always? It's not just noise. There are other forms of pollution. The pollutants were actually totally blown towards the direction of the school. And you also mentioned the Chengtin PTI. You've not helped the school in that regard. You're trying to intoxicate the teachers and students there. You poison them to death. And even in Yau Ma Tei, the Yau Ma Tei Catholic Primary School complained. They asked why can't the noise barrier be widened to cover that side of the road in front of the Yau Ma Tei Catholic Primary School. So every time you behaved like that, please tell us clearly how you're going to rescue the school. Don't tell us, oh, since it's already surrounded by noise already, let them close all their windows and switch on the air conditioners. Let them be suffocated to death. Don't tell us that. So I strongly oppose this semi-enclosure with the exhaust gas outlet pointing directly towards the school. Next, Dr. Fernando Cheung. Mr. Chairman, I very much agree to the concerns of members, as mentioned just now. Semi-enclosures may bring even more serious problems. According to this paper, this project is not covered by the EIA ordinance. That's why you have not conducted any EIA, right? Well, your paper only mentions environmental impact. Oh, your paper only mention environment assessment, but no EIA, no formal EIA. And have you conducted any EIA for Tamli Lai Fan Memorial Secondary School? Director of Highways, as Dr. Zhang said, this project is not covered by the EIA ordinance, so no EIA. But we carried out an environmental audit, the standard of which is the same as that for an EIA. All right, no EIA, but this is a major project. This school has been there for 20 years. At that time, the traffic in Tuen Mun Road and Chengtin PTI was very much different from the noise level now. Given this semi-enclosure, we're worried that common sense tells us that since the exhaust gas outlet is pointing directly to the school will be affected both by noise and air pollution. So maybe for the school, it is better not to have these noise barriers. Well, you're trying to evade the issue. You say that by the side of the workers' quarters, you're going to have these cantilevered barriers, which are useless. Bear in mind the learning environment for the children there. Well, given the procedures you mentioned, I think the whole issue is problematic. Anyway, I want you to reconsider this project. I want you to retender it so as to turn this semi-enclosure proposed to a full enclosure. That's what you should do. Furthermore, for the Qingtian PDI, noise and air pollution will impact on the residents and the school. So you should adopt improvement measures in order to benefit the residents and the school students. Director of Highways, you want to respond? Nothing new, I suppose. You have answered the same question a number of times already. Well, the biggest benefit of this project is that the 1,900 households will benefit. As for the school, can we do more? Well, there are constraints there. The Qingtian PDI also impacts on the school, and as we said, we'll use absorptive panels and materials. And Mr. Chairman, it is wrong to say that the exhaust gas outlet of the semi-enclosure points directly to the school. No, that shelter is actually of the same height as the school building. Next, Mr. Tony Tse. Mr. Chairman, enclosure 3 of the paper sets out the households to be benefiting from the project, in the sense that the noise level will be reduced. Well, I think over half of these households will only experience a drop in noise level of 10 decibel or less only. Now, after the proposed project here in the paper, I would like to know to what extent the noise level will be reduced. I mean, for the affected households. Is it for all households the noise level will be reduced to below 70 decibel? If that is the case, well, Mr. Chairman, there are 4 types here: full enclosure, semi-enclosure, cantilevered, and vertical. Maybe the type of noise barrier used will result in different degrees of noise reduction. Is it that the government will stop doing anything further when the noise level drops below 70 decibel? The exterior appearance, effectiveness, etc. of such noise barriers should be studied by the government. Materials are important, and external look is also important. Many people have different views about all these, so the government should work harder on those fronts. Director of Highways, a simple response. 1,800 households will benefit from noise reduction, of which 1,300 households will got a reduction to below 70 decibel. As for the location, whether it should be semi-enclosure, full enclosure, or whatnot, it really depends on the actual position of the households concerned. Some households need noise barriers on both sides, some on one side only. We also attach importance to external appearance. We use semi-transparent materials or translucent materials. We also have planters such that planters can serve as a noise barrier as well, so as to reduce the noise level. Mr. Chairman, in enclosure 3 of the paper, the government has set out the number of dwellings benefited. Maybe they should give us the decibel level also. Well, just now it's mentioned that 1,300 households will get a reduction down to below 70 decibel. Well, I would like to know the specific figures. For example, how many households will get an eventual noise level of 69 decibel? And can we further reduce the noise level to, say, 60 decibel? Director of Highways, you know that in enclosure 3, you have not explained to us the noise level for the 1,800 households. I think Mr. Tony Dare has asked a very good question. You only tell us reduction by how many decibels, say 21 to 25, but exactly how many households will benefit from what level, what exact level of reduction? Can you give us the information? Well, yes, we can give you the information later. Well, most importantly, 1,300 households will get a reduction down to 70 decibel. Well, just now there was this question of if nobody is to benefit, if everything is below 70 decibel, so why spend this money? Mr. Tam Yu Chung? Well, Mr. Chairman, we've seen costs rising because of slippage. Originally is $620 million, and now as the tender expired yesterday, now the cost has jumped to $800 million. Well, I think the bidders know this clear message, so they know how to do the calculation. And some members have asked you to retender the project because material costs have dropped. The government has grasped all the data. You know the indices. Is it really cheaper to retender the project or more expensive? I think you know. And if you retender, the time required may be very long. Will you tell us that as well?
And if you were to have 4 enclosures at the school, and if you still drag your feet on that, and still 1,800 units will be most affected. Since the tender, is about to expire, have you told the committee that the tender is expiring, and then what are the cost implications? Have you asked the chairman to actually issue some warning? Telling them, how much money is involved each day as each day passes? Director? On the tendering price, right now, we are considering all feasible options. For example, negotiating with the tenderers. Ultimately, if any problems occur, we might actually in the end invite tenders again. But whether retendering would drive down the cost, I do have doubts. Because even though some raw materials have come down in their price, on the whole, the overall trend of the construction industry is that, there is still a shortage of laborers and machines. So if we had to have a retendering, my estimate is that the costs would not be lower than the price currently cited. So if we issue the new tender on the basis of the current price, then we do need to have thorough discussions and, negotiations with the bidders. Well, now you've given a price of 800 odd million, then the bidders will not give you, come back with a quotation of 600 million, right? So you have to think about your negotiation tactic. Director? Thank you, Chairman. We are asking for $800 million as the cap for the project. In a negotiation, even if the contractors know about our cap, our negotiations will involve several or a number of potential bidders. So whether the actual price would be 800 million, or can they get the contract at a higher price? Well, we don't know. We don't mean that $800 million has to be what is being asked for. So we'll still continue to talk to the bidders and try to find the best way out. Yes, members, the first round of questioning. Lower call, please. Next. Well, I haven't asked any questions at all, but what I'm going to ask actually is related to the motion put before us. Just then, the administration said that they talked about the policy on improving the measures to address noise pollution at the school. But I think we do need to review our policy instead of just, introducing ad hoc measures here. So for this particular junction outside of the school, if we are to change the design of the noise mitigation measures, then what is the implication in terms of the completion date of the project? How long would be the project delay for? Director, yes. If a negotiation with bidders was successful and if the Central Tendering Board agrees, and should there be funding, we can go ahead with the project immediately. But if I'm not talking about re-tendering. I'm talking about the measures, the full enclosures outside the school. Of course, it's tied to the tender. But if that section is to have full enclosures, there will be a need for new design, then how would that affect the progress of the whole project? Director, as I said, we haven't done a thorough design yet, so we need to consider that. But I do hope that members can note that the noise the school faces does not come from the Tuen Mun Road alone. Well, I think you've repeated yourself the 5th time. So before I allow for the second round of questioning, let me tell members that I've received a motion proposed by Albert Chan, and the wordings are shown on the screen. I've also considered and ruled that the motion is directly related to the item that we're discussing. Therefore, I will put this motion to a vote. The motion reads that the subcommittee agrees to deal with Albert Chan's motion raised in accordance with 32A of our procedures. So we need to decide whether we should deal with this motion first before actually speaking on it. So can I ask members to indicate? Those who support dealing with the motion, please raise your hands.
反對嘅請
Those who are against, please raise your hands.
9位
9 in favor, 9 against. So we will deal with the motion. Since members have agreed with dealing with the motion moved by Albert Chan, so I'll ask Mr. Chen to speak first. Each member, please don't speak for more than 3 minutes. After all members have spoken, we invite the administration to respond. The last In the last, the member who moved the motion will have a chance to respond. Now the time is 12:37. If we are to extend the meeting by 15 minutes, there's a chance that we could settle this. Members, any strong views on extending the meeting to 1 p.m.? Okay. Albert Chen, please. Yes. To be brief, in the past, for road works, normally the noise barrier should be actually installed during the construction period, and now we've seen improvement made to the noise issue at Tuen Mun Road for the past 20 years. But traffic is getting more and more congested on the road. Therefore, the noise nuisance has also increased, particularly at night. The 70 decibel is just the level at the daytime. 65 decibels is also common, but I think it's ridiculous for schools to be subject to the noise nuisance. Not just the schools, some private estates, when they were constructed, they expected road widening works, and the estates also have noise barriers built on the site. But the problem is the noise barriers are to be actually installed after the road has been widened. Therefore, it means that there's no need for the road works involved to ask for an environmental impact assessment and just does some kind of internal study in place of that. My understanding is that for the 1,000-odd units that are affected, are there any units in the upper floors? Often, 90% of flats may see the noise nuisance reduced, but there's still some, 10% of the dwellings who may be in the upper floors who are actually seeing no improvement at all, or only worsening of the noise problem. Sometimes, the air and the noise could actually, be diverted towards the school in this case. It's not an issue of policy alone, so I do hope that you will support my motion. Helena Wong? Yes, Chairman, I do support Albert Chen's motion to ask that full enclosures be installed at the Tam Lei Fan Memorial Secondary School. I hope that the full enclosures can be extended to shelter the workers' dormitories and Nixon building. Okay, any other members want to speak? Director, 1 minute. Thank you, Chairman. As I said just then, the administration has carefully considered whether there needs to be noise barriers at the school. But as I said, the noise is coming from Tuen Mun Road alone. We have also, we've already looked at other measures. And if there is to be a full enclosure at the school, then we need to do a feasibility study first. So I can't tell you today whether the proposal is workable. And also, the funding requested would not be enough to cover full enclosures, because we are asking for only funding for the proposed measures, which do not include the full enclosures outside the school. So if members insist on having the full enclosure, then it will take us time to go back and do a careful study before coming back with another funding request. But that would actually mean delaying the barriers for the benefit of the 1,800 dwellings. Well, Chairman, I think the feasibility study won't be completed in time before the Finance Committee. Well, you won't take much time. So now I will put the motion by Albert Chan based on 32A, Procedure 32A of the PWSC to a vote. Those who in favor, please raise your hands. One minute has passed. Emily Lau? So, Director, if the subcommittee does have this request, I would rather withdraw this item because we do need time to carefully consider the feasible options and the implications for the funding request. Yes, it's your decision, but given the fact that in the Upper Chance motion, well, let's count the votes now. Let's count the votes. New proposal. Did we count the votes already? Those who are against, please raise your hands. Okay, somebody has asked us to claim a division. Okay. So the bell will ring for 5 minutes.
進行表決嘅呢，
We're now voting on Mr. Albert Chan's motion moved in accordance with PWSC procedure. And the motion is now shown on the screen. We'll proceed to the vote in 12 seconds' time. Voting begins. Members, please press the appropriate button in front of you. Before I declare the voting results, members, please check your votes. Voting is now closed. Display voting results. 13 for, 10 against. Mr. Albert Chan's motion is carried. If no other member would like to speak, Ms. Sito? The government officials said that if the motion was carried, he would withdraw the paper. Well, I have not heard that request from Mr. Young Tak Keung, the Deputy Secretary for Financial Services and the Treasury. Mr. Young Tak Keung, well, Mr. Chairman, perhaps I should clarify. Just now, there's a misunderstanding. We will not withdraw the application. If no other member, Mr. Ip Kin Yuen, very brief, the whole issue originates from the policy itself. The policy protects the households, the residents, but not schools and other institutions. Can we have some relevant papers from the administration? Dr. Helena Wong, I hope that when the government comes back to the PWSC or goes to the FC, they can tell us more about pollution, like RSPs and other pollutants. Yes, point taken. Mr. Albert Chan, very brief. Mr. Chairman, even if we approve this $800 million, the $100 million actually come from price adjustment. I'm confident that after negotiating again with the bidders, they will definitely be able to cover a full enclosure. So the government should be confident in itself. Well, the government should thank you for your encouragement. Ms. Anissa Wong, Permanent Secretary for the Environment. Concerning Mr. Ip Kin Yuen's point, maybe our colleagues have caused a misunderstanding. In fact, the government has done a lot for schools in terms of window design and so forth. Under that circumstance, this noise barrier project on the road is actually covered by established policies. It is not true that we do not take care of certain sectors of the community. In fact, they are covered by other policies and measures. If Mr. Ip wants more information, we'll be willing to provide them. Oh, yes, the most important thing is that you provide the information. Dr. Helena Wong, well, not just noise, also air pollution. You want the school to close all its windows permanently, so students have to wear masks when they're on the playground doing physical exercise? Will those in favor of the proposals in the paper please raise their hands? Those against, please raise their hands. I think the majority of the voting members are in favor of the proposals. The proposals are endorsed. Yes, your part will be taken out from the paper. Well, we have some time left. Maybe we can go to item 3, PWSC 2014-15-45, 354 EP, a 36 classroom primary school in Area 36, Fanling. This paper proposes to upgrade 354 EP to Cat A at an estimated cost of $417.2 million in money of the day prices. On the 12th of May 2014, the government consulted the panel on education. Members were in general supportive of the proposals. The report on the salient points discussed by the panel has already been tabled. In attendance today for this item come from the Education Bureau as well as the Architectural Services Department. Mr. Kevin Young, you would like to give us a briefing? Mr. Chairman, we propose a 36 classroom student in the site to reprovision Tonghua Groups of Hospital Makam Chan Memorial Primary School. The main school campus is 30 years old. The facilities cannot cope with teaching and learning needs. On the 4th of March 2014, we obtained support from the District Council, and we also consulted the panel on education. Well, if this funding proposal is endorsed, works will start in June this year and be completed in May 2017. Mr. Albert Chan declares an interest. Please put that on record. Does any member have any question? Dr. Helena Wong. Mr. Chairman, we know the North District does not have enough school places. The Democratic Party will support the project. Does any other member have any question? Dr. Fernando Chang. Mr. Chairman will of course support the project and would like the government to proceed as early as possible. Well, in the interim, the school will have to use two different campuses which are very far apart. And this is a primary school. There will be a lot of communal facilities. Is that really feasible? And what assistance will you offer to Makam Chan Memorial Primary School? Mr. Young, Undersecretary, well, the distance is all right. At the moment, Makam Chan is by the side of Shangshui MTR station, and the new campus is about 1 kilometer away from Shangshui MTR station, a walking distance of 10 minutes. Now they have a 24-classroom campus. The facilities are enough. Well, if in future they have to use two campuses, we'll discuss the details with the school. We will, of course, have to look at the demand for school places and the actual circumstances. Really, if they have to use two campuses, we'll make sure that teaching and learning will not be affected. I hope that the administration will discuss with the school and the parents, and you have to be transparent in that process. You should try your very best to make the arrangement. Well, a walking distance of 10 minutes is not a short distance. We're talking about primary pupils, so you have to communicate with the school and the parents. Mr. Ip Kin Yuen, Mr. Chairman, I support the proposals in the paper. Number one, the government has to ensure that the works can be completed as soon as possible. Secondly, the school does not understand the environmentally friendly design. They don't understand future expenses either. So the government should explain to the school in detail and discuss with the school the ancillary cost for the environmentally friendly measures and future arrangements. Any other questions? If members don't have other questions, I'll put this item to the vote. Will those in favor of the item please raise their hands? Those against, please raise their hand. I think the majority of the voting members are all in favor of the item. The item is passed. We endorsed 3 items today, and just now we said that for the noise barrier, the Finance Committee will have to vote separately on that. What about item 3? No? No. Okay, so only that particular item to be voted upon separately. Oh, sewage treatment plant also. Separate voting. Now is already 12:58, meeting adjourned.